Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hit It podcast. Super excited today as we have Kailey Koehler on the line here on the Hit It podcast. Kailey, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. I am really, really excited about this. A lot of our previous episodes, we've talked a lot about three event, but we get to go back and revisit show skiing and barefooting and all sorts of things that come along with that. And so I'm really excited about today's show. I just want to start here for our audience. You have been in the sport for a very long time. Your roots are in the sport. You grew up through the sport. Talk to us a little bit about maybe your love and your family's love for water skiing.
Yeah, so water skiing, show skiing, barefooting, it's all just truly a family sport. My parents actually met water skiing right on the lake that I actually currently live on. So they grew up water skiing over on Lake Como. And my dad was actually a member of the Aquanuts, which is the ski team that I'm currently on. So yeah, that was really where the love for water skiing in our family started. My parents taught both my sister and I how to water ski at a very, very young age. So I started when I was two. I'd imagine that was something along the lines of holding onto the boom while my parents just kind of walked in the water with me. I don't have a ton of memories of that, but yeah, that was really when I started. And from there, I joined our ski team when I was six. And I haven't stopped that. It's been a long, long time to be a member of the Aquanuts. I started barefooting at age 5, and then I started competitively barefooting at age 10. So really have been doing that for quite some time. I had like a short little stint, I think, when I was like in elementary school where I wanted absolutely nothing to do with water skiing.
Mm.
All I wanted to do was go tubing. And, my parents never ever forced either my sister or I to water ski. I still would have to come on the boat with them because my family still enjoyed doing it. But yeah, so I wanted nothing to do with it, probably for only about a month or so. I didn't even want to put my head underneath the water. And then I realized, how much fun everyone else was having. So I decided to get back out there. And since then, I haven't stopped. So it's been
Um,
it's been incredible.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And for our listeners, um, the area of the country that you are in, basically in the northern part of the United States, Wisconsin. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day that really knew nothing about skiing, but grew up there and
Yeah.
was like, oh, yeah, like every week, like we're there, we see the ski show. It is like the mecca of ski show. Tell us about that world and bring us into that world.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you can see out my window, but we've got piles of snow on the ground right now. So certainly it's a summer sport around here, but man, I'm telling you, like Wisconsin, I think, has a different drive for water skiing and specifically the Midwest because we only get to do it for a short time each year. I mean, our Florida friends are so lucky they can ski year round. But for us, we like sit here in the winter and dream about getting out on the lake and getting out on the water. So to be able to really only enjoy it for 3 months really just like puts us into gear for that summertime. Um, I mean, once June rolls around, it is like we hit the ground running and we start our water ski shows Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. We perform twice a week. We practice twice a week. So really, I'm down at our show ski site for 4 nights a week and we are just like nonstop on the water. Again, I think it's just a different drive knowing that we can only do it for a short period of time. But Wisconsin, we have over 20 competitive ski teams in just our state alone. And then within surrounding states, there are several more ski teams, competitive and non-competitive, but there are just tons of water skiers all around the Midwest.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Aquanuts. I mean that if you know anything about show skiing, that name has been around since the beginning of time, and I would be amiss if I didn't ask the question. because Kevco, our executive director, was saying, that's his home club, and
Yeah.
we're definitely going to hit on that here. Winning state, winning the nationals. Tell us a little bit about that setup. How does that work? And the organization you've been a part of has a rich history of winning.
Yeah. Yeah, our ski team, as every ski team, it definitely ebbs and flows. We go from years where we have a really small team, to years where we have larger team. But one thing that our ski team specifically is known for and has been known for a long time is we ski a very fast-paced show. We have show skiing in general is scored on flow, on execution, on difficulty. And our ski team is definitely known for our flow. There are 13 acts within the show, and we do them as fast as possible. We don't want our audience sitting there waiting for the next skier
Mm.
to just come by. It is a boom, boom, fast pace for one full hour. So our ski team really prioritizes that when designing our show. Um, Yes, our team has been, one of the top leading teams for several years now. But there was actually a large gap where our ski team was good, but we weren't winning. The last, so before our previous state win, it was 1986, since the ski
Wow.
team had won state. Um, and then 2021 was that next year that we had won. So I was lucky enough to be the show director of our team that year with Dan Borman. And we just had an awesome team. We were on fire. We had a lot more numbers than we had in the past. But then we also have a lot of individual talent on our team. And just that number of our individual talent and things like that is just continuing to grow. So that year we had several members of Team USA who are on our team who were able to enhance our difficulty. And yeah, so we've had just a really great run. Since then, again, we've lost some skiers. But when you lose skiers, you also get a little bit more opportunity for other skiers who, weren't quite ready for that star swivel spot, weren't quite ready to be in the pyramid. And now we've seen a lot of our younger skiers step up in the last couple of years and step into those roles that other people weren't filling anymore. So it's really fun to see. Like I said, we kind of ebb and flow, but that's for the betterment of our team, and we'll continue to do that. But yeah, we've got a strong team coming up this year, and we're really excited for summer.
It's amazing to think about talent in show ski too, because it's very diverse in the sense that, like, you could be building a pyramid, you could be doing a flip off the ramp and freestyle jump, barefooting. Uh, Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, as you rise up through the ranks, how
Mhm.
do people gravitate to a particular specialty for the show?
Yeah, so certainly gravitating towards one thing is beneficial, but what I try and encourage and I pride myself in is being a well-rounded skier. So like you said, the difference between really honing in on like one specific event is in show skiing. It's really important to be well-rounded and to be able to do a little bit of everything. So I try to encourage, again, some of our younger skiers is don't just spend hours on your swivel ski. Take some time to learn how to trick ski, start learning how to barefoot, start trying to jump. And of course, everyone kind of gravitates towards like the one specific thing they're really good at, or maybe where their team needs them to practice more. But again, I try to just encourage everyone to be as well-rounded as possible. For our guys too, we need a lot of acts where guys are what we would call a chick hauler, meaning they put a girl on their shoulders. And once you learn how to do that, you can base a pyramid, you can do conventionals or doubles or trios or things like that. So for both girls and guys, it is super, super important to learn not just one area of skiing, but to try and be well-rounded in different areas.
Very cool. Let's switch gears here to specifically barefooting. It's
Mhm.
been a while since we've talked about barefooting. We had Keith St. Onge on the Hit It podcast. It's been a couple years now, and that was extremely intriguing and enlightening. How he came up through the sport and the impact that Swampy had on him as his coach. I know that you've skied with both of those guys. Talk to us a little bit about barefooting because you are an incredible barefooter. But a lot of people don't know, at least on the 3 event water ski side, that there's 3 events to barefooting. And so it's kind of a loaded question here, but talk to us about those 3 events and the people that you've had the opportunity to train with.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky. I had the opportunity to train with so many amazing barefooters, Keith St. Onge being one of them, Swampy, David Small, Paul McDonald, Brett Sands. I was really lucky that there were so many people who I was able to train with. And yeah, I started competitively barefooting when I was 10. And there are 3 events. So there are tricks, slalom, and jump. So the trick event, it sounds pretty simple. You get two 16 or 15-second passes. Um, and then each trick is essentially worth a point value. So you try to score as many points as you can within those two 15-second passes. Slalom, very similar again to kind of that 3 event is crossing the wake, but in barefooting, you don't have to go and hit a buoy. So you're just crossing the wake from one side to the next. Again, you get two 15-second passes, and each pass is scored a certain point value. So if you cross the wake on 1 foot, you get a full point. If you cross the wake on 2 feet, you get a half a point. Um, and then jumping is strictly for distance. So you get 3 jumps and you try to land up the furthest jump that you can. Um, I mean, I love barefooting. Barefooting has a special place in my heart and it always will. Um, Doing the competitions was so much fun, and I am so lucky that for so long I was able to do both. So I was a member of 5 US barefoot teams, and we got to travel all over. We traveled to New Zealand and Australia and Germany for those world tournaments, and those are memories I will just always cherish. It became tough to do both show skiing and barefooting. Wisconsin, we get 3 months. So to be able to train as hard as I wanted to for barefooting and then also attend show ski practice 4 nights a week, that became difficult. I wish there was a way that I could still do both. But yeah, ultimately I got to that point where I did have to make a decision. I ended up deciding to go more of that show ski route when I went away to college. I actually had started running track in college, so that took a lot of my time. Again, I wasn't able to get down to Florida quite as much as I wanted to, because training for barefooting is very rigorous. You are getting up at 8 in the morning. You are practicing, basically until you can't move your muscles anymore, and then, going and doing it again the next day. A little bit different from show skiing in the sense of barefooting, you really do need calm water. So it's those early mornings, it's those tough training days. Um, it takes a lot of grit to be able to do that. Again, I'm so thankful that I was able to do both. I think that competing barefooting really made me into the show skier that I am. And I still barefoot within our show ski show. But yeah, that competitive barefooting is tough. It's not for the weak, that's for sure.
And I wanted to spend some time on specifically training for barefooting. It was amazing. It was the same thing when we talked to Keith. I mean, he grew up in the Northeast and it was super cold. And I mean, not only is barefoot training hard, but then you put on the conditions of the cold water and the early mornings and getting up, and there's like no chill to barefooting, like
No.
zero chill, right? So
Oh,
like if you throw on a trick ski and you go out there and you're like, well, I just kind of want to goof off today, you can do that. Barefooting, it's all out, no
yeah.
matter what event you're doing. Tell us about kind of the ups and downs of the journey of being a barefooter, of like finding the motivation, because I'm sure you're sitting there at 7 a.m. some of those days, like, what am I doing? But like, putting your training before how you feel.
Oh yeah. I mean, training was brutal. There's like no way to sugarcoat it. It's like the barefoot falls just suck no matter what. It's not like you could take like an easy fall, right? Like there's no such thing. They hurt no matter what. Early mornings for me as a kid were the worst. I would actually sleep in my swimsuit and I would say roll and go. So I would roll out of bed and go straight to the dock to get up to be able to train. Um, I was super lucky. I have a sister who's a little bit older than me, and we trained together growing up. And we were neck and neck in competition. We'd go back and forth where she would win an event and then I would win an event. So for us, like we were each other's motivation. Um, if she would get a trick, I would want to go and learn the next trick. But let me tell you, those crashes were awful. I mean, there would be crashes where I feel like I would wake up in the water, my contacts would be out of my eyeballs, my hair tie would be gone, my swimsuit or my wetsuit would be unzipped. Like those were just the falls that were like, oh my gosh, do I really have to go and do this again? Um, but again, my sister and I would just push each other to keep going. If someone took a hard crash, we'd be encouraging them to try that trick again or to take a rest and then get back at it. But one specific fall my sister took, we were training one early morning. And on our lake, the houses are a little bit close to the water on the one side. So we were running that shoreline, and my sister just took a horrible front slalom crash. And she like got out of the water, and one of the houses on the lake, the fire alarm was going off. And she was like in a daze and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm hearing ringing." And and my dad and I were kind of chuckling in the boat because you kind of got to laugh about it too. And we're like, "Oh no, you must have hit your head. You must." And she's like, "It's not stopping." And so she's like thinking like, "Oh my God, I literally rung my bell and I'm just hearing all this noise and I'm seeing stars." And like that's just an example of like how hard some of these crashes were. But ultimately, we were like, hey, no, just the fire alarm is going off. You got to get out and do that again. Come on, you got this. So, but yeah, those crashes are they're hard. And like the older I get, now that
Yeah.
I'm now that I'm again a little bit older, I'm like, if I take one crash, sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what? I think I might be good for the day, or I don't know, it's gonna be hard to get out of bed tomorrow, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I remember those days where I couldn't just sit up straight in bed. I'd have to like roll off the side of the bed so that I didn't have to lift my neck because my muscles hurt so bad.
Mm.
And those are the crashes, but that's what makes you tougher, makes you a better skier for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was going to ask you about that. I've asked several people on the show this question about training, becoming a champion, achieving goals in skiing, and how that translates outside of the world of skiing. Like, what have you seen in your life where you look at the situation, you're like, well, I've done this over here. Now I can translate that amount of effort and that amount of work over here.
Mhm.
I would be interested to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have always said, and I will always credit the sport of water skiing to like how I've become the person that I am today. And that goes for the friendships that I've made, the leadership skills that I've developed, and all of those things have helped me, yeah, in my career, in my family, with my friends. I teach kindergarten special education, so really just the working with people, communicating with parents. Those are things that you do and I learn as a show skier. And just working together. I ran track all through high school, all through college. And similarly to water skiing, it's one of those things where in track you compete by yourself, but you're all working together towards one goal. And that's how it works in barefooting, is everyone is skiing independently, but you're all working together towards that team victory. And then show skiing is a little bit different, but again, you're encouraging those around you And that's just something that I will always take with me no matter where I go, no matter what I do.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we talked a little bit at the very, very top about you representing USA in barefooting. Let's talk about representing USA in the world of show skiing because you guys got something coming up down in Australia for the World Championships very, very shortly. And my
Yeah.
question was for that, since there's, I don't know how many inches of snow out your window right now, how are you getting ready and prepared to go down to Australia and compete?
Yeah, so we're super excited. I leave in less than a month, and I just can't wait. The unfortunate part is, yes, I would love to be in my best ski shape when we get there. But yeah, given the snow, given Wisconsin, that's going to be a little bit of a tough go. But certainly there are still things that I do here to stay in shape. I do a lot of running, I do a lot of lifting, but really nothing gets you in shape for water skiing than actually water skiing. I've been lucky enough that this year I've made a couple of trips down to Florida, so I have gotten a little bit of skiing in. But when we get over on the other side of the pond, that's when that training is really going to start. We actually just got our itinerary, our team schedule. We are nonstop for the full week, all the way leading up to that competition. So we're there for about 7 days before we compete, and we really are using all 7 of those days to get ourselves ready. Certainly, there will be a little bit of downtime, and of course, like our show directors realize, what's pushing it too far. Of course, we don't want to overdo it when we get there. Um, but we're all expected to be in the best shape we possibly can be when we get there. Our team has had 2 total practices together before we get to Australia. So we practice last year in after our nationals, and then we had a spring break practice the year prior. Um, so really, we don't get a ton of time to ski together until we actually get to Australia. But, our leadership, Matt and Dave, our show directors, they're incredible. They always give us, what we need to practice, what we need to prepare for, so that when we get there, we're not trying anything new. We are literally just taking all of the skills that we've individually practiced and putting them together to form our show. Like I had spoken to that flow piece earlier, that's going to be our main priority when we get to Australia, is putting the whole entire show together and make sure it flows seamlessly.
Yeah, such an interesting situation. You think about like a basketball all-star game, right? Where
Mhm.
you're pulling athletes from all these different teams where you've been competing with the Aquanuts all summer long and at the lake 4 days a week. And now you're going all the way to Australia and you've had a couple practices. You've got 7 days to compete.
Mhm.
I mean, talk to us about the show directors. I mean, to get that all organized and the cohesion that a team has to have, not only to show up and perform well, but potentially bring home the gold medal. Talk to us about those show directors.
Yeah, Matt and Dave are incredible. They've been our show director for several years. And their leadership is so inspiring. And one day I would love to possibly be Team USA show director, and they're 2 people that I absolutely look up to. Um, they seem to do the impossible. They, grab 35 people from all over the United States, like you had said, those quote unquote all stars, and they do their research. They know who skis what spot. They know who pairs well with each other for swivel. They know who skis what spot in a pyramid. And again, they know not just what you ski, but how well you ski it, your level of consistency. So the amount of hours in research that they do to really get to know the skiers and then select the team is really just step one. From there, now they're writing the whole entire show, and they're not just writing the skiing, they're working with our announcer and they're writing a theme for the show. And in addition to theme, they're picking out costumes, they're deciding on music. There is just like so many intricate details that they have to organize. In order to prepare for our show. This will be the sixth world championship for show skiing, and USA has won all six championships. So the pressure is on, and this is definitely a unique experience for us, as in we're going over to Australia. They've been skiing all summer long.
Hmm.
We are essentially in winter ski shape. You know, there are some people from our team who live in Florida and ski in Florida, but not all of us. So we're expected again to get there and compete against some of these teams who have been practicing for so long. All the countries deal with the issue of we're kind of all spread out. So like even in Australia, there are team members who live, 10 hours apart and things like that. So they don't practice every single day together, but yeah, it'll be unique for that, as well as, now we're on their turf. So competing against people who have been skiing all summer, competing in their home site with their, home team. It's going to be tough, but we'll see. We've also just put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and like I said, we haven't lost a world championship yet, and we certainly don't intend to lose one now. So
Got to keep the streak going. Well, we're going to
yeah,
be cheering back home for everybody. So
yeah,
you
we
got us.
appreciate that.
Well, it's interesting because in the three event water ski world, it's very individual
Mhm.
until you potentially go and ski in college where it becomes a team sport or you get to represent Team USA. I asked this question because on the barefooting side, very individual,
Yep.
but in the show ski world, very much like a team. What have you noticed about that? Because it has, to me, where I was able to ski in college and understand the camaraderie of water skiing as a team and then the individual aspect, it just it's special in its own right, kind of in its own lane. It's just a different experience. What's your experience competing as an individual and as a team member?
Yeah, I mean, no offense to all the other show ski disciplines, but I think that's why show skiing is the best, is
Mm,
because it really is that team sport. And, you're not sitting there watching the person who's going to compete against you, you're competing with them. And when I'm out there swiveling, I look on shore and I see the people on my team cheering for me. And it's so unique because in a pyramid, if one person goes down, everyone goes down, It's really that team sport. Everyone is just so positive and so encouraging, and working together towards that one goal. I loved barefooting. I loved being able to compete individually, but there really is something about just being able to compete with your best friends. And I mean, I call my ski team my family. I've been a member of the Aquanauts for 25 years, 24 maybe. And they're my friends, they're my family, and to be able to compete with them is just awesome. Same thing for Team USA. I mean, we have turnover each year in teams, but for those 2 years of practice in between worlds, like we're a family. We communicate with each other. We're encouraging each other. I text, friends in Florida of, hey, how's your training going this week? We see videos, we send, each other things to practice. And that's what's so unique about show skiing. Um, and then back to some of our teams, within the US. Like when we go to a tournament, it is just like one big reunion.
mm.
And of course, every team is there and every team wants to win. They want to compete to the best of their ability. However, it's so unique in the sense of like, we've got a ski team on the water and everyone is in the crowd watching and cheering for them. And then when they're done skiing, they come to the beer tent and everyone's encouraging each other. Everyone's around, everyone's saying, "Hey, nice show, good luck." It's a whole different experience being able to compete alongside of all of your friends and family.
Very, very cool. Well, I think we heard one of these earlier in the show that one day, you want to be a show director, maybe for Team USA. But I wanted to ask about current and future goals, right? Where do you see yourself now in your career, and maybe where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, well, hopefully I'm still on the water, no matter what. But yeah, I mean, I've got short-term goals, I've got long-term goals. I've got specific goals to skills that I want to learn, and then yeah, like those long-term, more show directing, leadership type goals. Um, the world of freestyle jumping is just booming right now, and I'm able to do ride overs and helis, but I've been working on some flips. I'd love to eventually land one of those. But man, some of these young whippersnappers are just out there doing gainers, doing flips, and it's incredible to watch. So part of me thinks, oh man, I don't know if I can continue to break my body like that, but yeah, I mean, there's other goals like swiveling is always something that I continue to work on. Um, barefooting, I continue to keep my skills as consistent as possible. But I think one of the best parts about show skiing is like or water skiing in general is you've never learned every single trick. There's
Right.
always something else to learn. And that's, I'm sure, similar in three event and always like in barefooting and things like that. But there's always something new to learn. Again, like in show skiing, there are just so many different types of skiing that you can do. I'd love to get better on my sky ski. That's another just goal. It's again something fun to work on, something different. It's not just that same barefoot swivel jump. So just learning something new is always exciting and fun to do. Um, Long-term goals in regards to like leadership. I am like on our NSSA board of directors, so just being able to continue to learn through that. I'm on our rules committee, I'm on our international committee. So to just continue to stay involved with those things, I would love to do. And yeah, one day I do desire to be a Team USA show director. I'm not sure when that will be. Right now, I'm really enjoying just that competitiveness and being able to ski. Now, our show directors who are currently show directing our team, they also ski in the show. But for right now, I just want to continue to kind of enjoy that as an athlete. But eventually, I would love to be the show director.
Very cool. Just to back up a little bit about the freestyle jump. Like freestyle jump, I feel like if you're a barefooter, you probably could train for freestyle jump too. But you're like, how long can your body hold up to go through that?
Right.
Because jumping in general is just like the daredevils of water skiing in a way, because of
Yep.
the risks that they take. And I barefooting too. I'm gonna put They're kind of the same. It
Yeah.
seems like person. Um, that's interesting that you say that there's a rise in freestyle jump, because freestyle jump has been around for a long time. And
Mhm.
actually, when the Pro Tour was going on in the late 80s and the 90s, freestyle jump was right there with three event. And we got to
Yeah.
see a lot of those athletes compete. So the exposure to the public at large, uh, there's people who know what freestyle jump is, but it sounds like it's making a resurgence. Is there anything like you can accredit that to?
Yeah, I think that like it started with the boys of starting, more of that like tour type of tournament. So the Buckman boys, Carter and Derek, they really had started a tournament called Buck Up. And essentially they were traveling to different cities in the summer and putting on tournaments. And that has really, really, really just started that
Mm,
resurface of the boom for freestyle jumping. Um, and to their credit, it's not just about the jumping. Like it's a whole weekend of fun with friends. But yeah, I mean the skill level that these the skill level from some of these guys is just insane. And they are continuing to learn new skills and push their limits. And it is really fun to see. And then the flip side of that is that the girls have really started to take to that. So
Yeah.
credit to the boys for starting that and for, getting on that train of making freestyle, quote unquote, great again. But now the girls are taking to that, and it is so, so cool. There are so many young girls who are just hitting it hard on the ramp. And I mean, some of these girls aren't even they're, I think they're like 15, 16, and they're throwing flips off the jump and doing gainers. And it is just so, so fun to see. And I think part of it is also like, we're lucky of like the equipment that we have and the teachers. I know a lot of those guys back in the day on those freestyle jump tours is they were just going for it, or they'll say we were just sending it. And now there are so many people out there who are willing
Mm.
to teach the tricks. And we really, really, really promote like the fundamentals. So learning a ride over, but doing 500 ride overs
Mhm.
before you start a heli, and then doing 500 helis before you start a front flip. And again, like I think, maybe back in the day, they were just trying different tricks and throwing it different ways. And now we're lucky enough that there are so many people who have become experts, and they're willing and able to teach others how to do some of these crazy, difficult, insane tricks. So, but a lot of credit to so many people who have really helped that resurface of freestyle jumping.
That is exciting. I am a
Yeah.
huge fan of freestyle jumping. I
Yeah.
love to watch freestyle jumping, and it's really cool to think of it kind of rising back up through kind of
Mhm.
a grassroots effort to go to cities, put on a show, put on a tournament. It reminds me of my very good friend and buddy, Danny Amir, Dano, who
Yeah.
has Corn Fest that has become a tradition each and every year. And what he's doing there. I think you're actually going to be there this year. Is that right?
Yeah, you bet. It's
Uh,
right at our home site. So Dano is an Aquanut too. And yeah, there's Twin Lakes Corn Fest right at the Nut Bowl in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. So yeah, I'll be there. I'm excited.
Very cool. And that has pulled a lot of people over from the three event side to make their trip, right? So we've
Yeah.
seen trick skiers, we've seen jumpers go up there, and a big credit to Dano and shout out to him for his
Yeah.
effort with Cornfest. So if you're in the area or you want to go there, check it out,
Yeah.
2025 Cornfest.
Yeah.
What advice at this stage of the game would you give to the next generation? And that could be to barefooters or show skiers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds very simple and easy, but just don't give up. I mean, there are so many times again where you take that crash, take that fall. Your muscles are sore, you don't want to get up early and train, but when you do, like those are the moments that champions are made,
Mm.
right? When you take that crash and you get out there and you try that trick again, like that right there is what makes you competitive and what will make you better. And I always encourage, girls on our team, try something new. Try something different. Don't just go and grab your swivel ski every time you get out on the water. Try barefooting. Try jumping. Um, and yeah, I mean, just enjoy it. I was never, ever, ever forced into trying water skiing or doing a certain trick. Um, and I'm thankful for that. And it's just that self-motivation and the motivation of the friends around you. So surround yourself with friends who enjoy water skiing, and then you will, yeah, go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Great advice there. Um, I ask each and every guest on the show to complete this statement. So, Kailey, I water ski because why does Kailey water ski?
Hmm. I water ski because it's the best sport in the world. Again, like we had talked to earlier, it has made me the person that I am today. It has given me friends that I will have for the rest of my life. I'm able to do it with my family, and there's always something to learn. And that is what I love about our sport is there's no one will ever accomplish every single trick. There is
Yeah.
always something new to do.
Yeah. And that's really cool to think about too, because there's always, when we go back to the individual side of things, there's always another way to continue to push the envelope from an individual
Mhm.
standpoint. And then that also can contribute to making a better team. So
Yeah,
you learn something new. The
yeah,
Aquanuts have another little, thing to put out there that they didn't see last year or something like that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up the show, Kailey, I just want to give you a handoff where people can find you or any thanks to anyone you would like to thank.
Yeah, I'm thankful for all of my friends, all of my families, the Team USAs that I've been a part of, our show directors. I would just say our sport as a whole. We're such a small community, but it's an incredible community. So I'm very thankful for all of the opportunities that water skiing has given me. Like to shout out to you guys, shout out to USA Water Ski as you guys are continuing to grow, continuing to improve our sport for the athletes and for all of our members. Kevco is just doing an awesome job. So super thankful for that, and just really am excited to see where our sport will continue to go.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Kailey, thanks so much for joining the Hit It podcast. And we are going to be cheering for you and Team USA when you head down to Australia.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Cheers.
With that, we're signing off.